welcome to season 4 of Situations and Conversations. We are going to kick things off talking about our kids. You know, Whitney Houston told us the children are our future. But are we really doing enough in schools to support our children's education? That is the situation, and the conversation starts right now.
Situations and Conversations with Renee. Situations and Conversations with Renee. Real situations, real conversations. Empowering the community leads to elevation. Entertainment and education, no better time than now.
Welcome to Situations and Conversations. I am your host, Renee, and I am so excited to get our 4th season of the show kicked off today, and thank you so much for joining me, as this is a very important conversation. This is going to be all about youth education and how we can support our babies through all of the changes that have been happening lately in our schools. So today, I have the pleasure of talking with Jamartae Brown. He is an educator and social justice advocate and activist, and he can actually speak to exactly what's going on in our public schools. Let's welcome Jamartae. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
I mean, honestly, thank you so much for being here, because I think you came straight from being with our babies, being in the schools.
Fresh from the 6th through 8th grade aroma in the school.
Wow.
Fresh from it.
Wow. Okay. So thank you for, coming straight here. And thank you for the work that you're already doing, have been doing, and will do with our children in the community. It's very, very important. And so before we get into all the nitty-gritty of all the ins and outs of what needs to happen with the school system, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and like what you're up to these days specifically.
I think, like you said, Jamartae, aka Marte. A lot of people know me by Marte. Northeast Portland native. Grew up a block away from Jefferson High School. Raised by my moms, aunties, grandparents. You know, the village. You know what I mean? And I think without those people, without having those grounding morals and values, I wouldn't even be sitting right here in front of you right now.
Right.
So it's just a blessing to be here. And I think that's just me. I'm just somebody who just try to serve, try to do what I can, and really just be a beacon of hope.
Yeah.
There's a lot that going on in the world. There's a lot going on with our kids.
And this is why I'm really excited to have you here, because you are a real person in the mix, in the streets, in the best ways.
Yeah.
But
right.
I mean, and maybe not always, you know what I mean? But you can speak directly to what's going on in our Portland public schools, because you grew up in the Portland public school system, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I grew up Woodlawn Elementary. Then I went to SEI Academy.
Yeah.
So when SEI became a school.
SEI for life.
Always. I'm an SEI baby. And so they even had a contract with PPS as well. So kind of those little intertwined things in middle school too with the academy. And then I went to Jefferson High School.
Yeah. Well,
the
that's
greatest
a
high
big
school
one.
in the city.
Right. I love it. So many like wonderful stories and rich stories of young people coming through Portland public schools back in the day, but now I find that there's a struggle happening. Can you speak to what you're seeing in your job? Like, what exactly are you doing in the public school system?
So my role is I am a Restorative Justice Coordinator. So what I am is, I tell people I'm the peacemaker of the school.
Okay.
Right? And so I help kids and teachers and families navigate a conversation around the real conversation, right? And part of that word, restorative, that root word is restore. How do we restore what harm that we may have caused, or somebody may have, maybe we caused it, maybe that person caused us harm, but how do we restore that? How do we do repair work? How do we sit down and have an honest conversation? I honestly tell kids and families, especially when parents ask me, what is a restorative conversation? I say it's basically a family meeting. Okay. It's a family meeting about having a real conversation about what's going on. For example, let's say a kid been having troubles in class, a teacher has some concerns, feeling like this kid is not engaged, or they feel like, they just need some help with this kid to really get to this kid, right? And I come in, a teacher communicates with me, maybe an admin, principal, or vice principal, whoever, communicate with me about what's going on, a visit to the class sometimes. I do different things to where I'm able to see what's going on, the dynamic, and then we sit down and we have a conversation when the time is right about how can we better support this kid. So we may get mom or whoever, dad or whoever the guardian of this kid, and I help navigate those conversations so we can be better. It's about being better.
How did you come to do this kind of work? I mean, did you just grow up one day and say, okay, I think I want to be a restorative justice or what did you call it again?
Restorative Justice Coordinator.
Justice Coordinator?
Yeah.
I've never even heard of that title, although it sounds very necessary.
Yeah.
When and how did you even come into this work?
You know, I play sports. I play football, basketball. I went to college for football. And when I was on my way, this is a true story, when I was on my way to go play overseas, I was deciding between Russia and Germany to go play because they were having two leagues out in those countries. And I was talking to those coaches, and then shortly after, they was talking about COVID-19 happening, right? And so I'm looking at the news, I'm watching all these things, they're talking about how COVID was getting ready to happen and all these different things. And that kind of put things at a standstill for me because with a massive, what we know now is a massive pandemic for the world. Like, I'm not going to go to a different country and potentially put myself in a whole lot of situations where I might not be able to come back home or I might be on lockdown, whatever. And so a mentor of mine, Michael Hill, who's also a RJ coordinator at Mount Tabor, he suggested, hey, why don't you go for a paraeducator job at a school? And I told him straight up, like, no, like, I'm not about to go work at no school. I'm trying to go play football overseas. Like,
right.
You know, and he was like, hey, I'm just saying, you know, think about it. I thought about it. I applied for the job. I went to the interview. And literally when I got there, Beaumont was there. My interview was originally with Tubman.
Okay.
I got to the interview and it was Beaumont. It was the vice principal of Beaumont at the time. And my interview happened with them. So I was like, okay, that's different. Did the interview. They called me in 20 minutes and said I had the job. I was surprised. I was in the car like, did they really just say they hired me on this job?
Now, what do you think about that? That feels like ordained. That feels like you were exactly where you were supposed to be and you thought you were interviewing with one school, it was another school. That feels very much like destiny.
Yeah.
Do you believe in that?
100%. Purpose. I believe in callings. I believe in just being a servant. Kind of like what we just talked about previously, getting on camera, like just being a servant. And I think that's huge for me because I want to serve. I want to maximize my time here on earth because I know just like everybody else that life is short, but life is also slim.
Right.
Because just like Maya Angelou said, people will forget everything else, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And that's the
boom. I like that.
That's
okay, this is a great place to take a break.
Okay.
Because we want to maximize our time with you. And right after this break, we're coming right on back with more Jamartae Brown and talking about how our children are the future and what we're going to do. We got to support them, y'all. So hang tight. Coming right back.
Special thanks to our presenting sponsor, Oregon Health Authority, helping people and communities achieve optimum physical, mental, and social well-being.
Welcome back to Situations and Conversations. We have been having a very good conversation with Jamartae Brown, who is a paraeducator in Portland Public Schools and also a restorative justice advocate and all the things for the kids. And Jamartae, you said something before the break. Time is short, but it's also slim, which means we don't have a lot of time to make sure that our kids are being served properly in the schools. And with all of these closures between COVID, which was like, oh my goodness, just devastating to so many families and the children not actually being in school for learning. And then you had strikes all over the place where kids were also out of school for a very extended period of time. What have you seen as far as learning goes with the children that you serve?
It's tough because we're noticing that a lot of our kids don't have some of those same skills that we feel like they should have at grade level. And I think that's due to the pandemic, due to not having somebody right there with you one-on-one, working on your reading, working on your math, working on your science, language arts, etc. Like, and within that, you know, we also seen the social dynamic, right? Now you've been in your room for a year or however many months.
And on the screens.
Yeah, on the screen.
And now we're trying to get the kids off the screens as much. And it's like such a struggle. And I know you're a paraeducator. I did not go into that profession.
Yeah.
That was definitely not my calling.
Yeah.
So when my kids were at home during the whole pandemic, I was like, I don't know what to do. email the teacher. Because honestly, I don't have the skill set nor the patience for that. You know, in my mind, it's like, you don't know, you don't understand that. And I think a lot of parents were frustrated if they were even able to be there. I mean,
100%.
wasn't like work shut down. Parents were also either working from home remotely in a whole nother room or, you know, having to still go in. So now that we see these gaps, right, a lot of these kids are not performing at grade level. What is the plan? What is happening in order to help these kids catch up?
I think depending on your school, it varies, but I also think that collectively, we got to get back to the basics, right? We got to get back to that one-on-one time. We got to get back to adding those supports. So when you said about different things like that, well, some of them are taking supports out of their buildings now, being that after this, after these certain events. So now we're talking about taking certain supports out of the school that really helps.
These cuts,
Bridge,
right? So like, that's also a problem. So like, so are kids really our future? Like, are we really valuing these children?
And the thing is if we say we want our kids to be better, we want the best education, we want the best people to work with our kids, then we have to put the things in place for that to be a priority.
That means money, right? Is that what that means? That means money. Let's just have the real conversation. That means money. And also, I recently read that lowered standards in order for lowered the education level standards so that kids can continue to advance. Is that helpful or is that hurtful?
That's hurtful. And the reason why it's hurtful is because now we're potentially sending a message and say, you can just breeze past and I'm not gonna think twice about it. And in the future, right, when that kid graduates high school and goes out into the real world, whether that's college, a trade, a full-time job, are we really satisfied that we just pushed this kid through? And did we get this kid supports? Did we prepare them for what's to come? Did we give them the skills? Did we listen? Did we provide what we needed to provide for this kid and for these kids to succeed at a high level? And we understand that every kid is different. Every kid has a different story, a different background, but the priority is that every kid deserves a great education. Every kid deserves support. Every kid deserves somebody that really in that corner that's going to advocate. And also every kid deserves someone that's going to advocate with the parents as well. I'm big on that. I want our parents to be involved. I want our parents to know, and I want them to be included, because I tell people all the time, I'm like a co-parent with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of parents, because I'm with their kids 7-8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Right. And we rely on you in order to keep it all together, right? Because 9 times out of 10, somebody's out of the house working, doing what they have to do in order to support the family.
100%.
There's not a lot of instances where there's the stay-at-home parent just able to be there, Johnny on the spot or Judy on the spot. So with all of that said, we can sit here and talk about all the issues. We know that there's issues, right? What can the average person who's watching the show today do? What do you think is the first thing, or maybe the first few things that people can actually do right here, right now, to help prepare our children for the future and set them up for success?
I think listening. Number one, you got to listen. This generation is changing. Things are changing. They've been through things that we haven't been through, right? Like a global pandemic. I didn't experience that in middle school and high school, right? So I think listening, and also asking questions. Asking questions, what do you need? How are you feeling? Where are you at? I think also too, checking in. Make a school visit. Check in with the teachers. Go up to the school and kick it for 2-3 periods. Come be in the environment where your kid is at 7-8 hours a day. And I get it, work schedules, all those different types of things, but make it a priority. Take that day off of work, like we do for everything else. When we gotta go
to the doctor's office or to the this and
that.
You
know what I'm saying?
Get our hair done a little early.
You know what I mean? Go get the lineup, everything.
I understand.
Let's designate maybe an hour and say, you know what, I'm gonna go up to my kid's school today for an hour, and I'm gonna go check in. I'm gonna go check in with the teacher or the teacher, listening, checking in, spending the time.
Actually going up there. I remember one time I was acting up in the class.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Uh-oh.
Talking out of turn. hey, I made a career out of it. But but before, it was still disruptive, right? I'm not advocating for this. But my dad snuck into the classroom, and I didn't know he was there. And I heard all these whispers, and I turned around, and I was like, woo! Like I had the fear of like, OMG, I know better than to be doing this. And I never know now when my dad or my mom or whomever may just pop up. So are parents really welcome though these days? Like I know that was back in the day. I'm a woman of a certain age. So that was back then. I don't know about now. Can like a parent just stroll up and just be in the classroom?
Absolutely. At my school, they more than welcome. You come in, you check in, you talk to whoever you need to talk to, whether it be the front desk, principal, even myself. If somebody like me is there, be like, hey, I'm just here to visit. You know, I'm just here to check in. Oh, yeah, listen, somebody like me will welcome you with open arms. I take you around the school.
You work with the families all the time.
100%.
I just didn't know if that was still a thing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good.
In.
Some things that are old school are still in practice. And I think that's something that I want you to stick around for. I want to have another conversation with you around parenting and kids and then and now and see what you think about that. Can you do that?
Absolutely.
All right. Hey, thank you so much for this portion of the conversation because this situation is so important. And I love the 3 nuggets that you dropped. And I believe in you. And thank you so much. I really appreciate everything that you are doing. You about the realest paraeducator, restorative justice person, all in one that I've ever met. And I'm so glad that we were able to introduce you to a wider audience and let people know the work that you're doing and people like you are out here doing boots on the ground in the community. So thank you.
Appreciate you.
But I'm not letting you go.
Absolutely.
Oh, no. And I'm not letting y'all go either. Just for a quick minute as we set up for one of my favorite segments. Hey Trey is coming up next on Situations and Conversations. Don't go away.
Special thanks to our presenting sponsor, Oregon Health Authority, helping people and communities achieve optimum physical, mental, and social well-being. Step into style at Adorn, where fashion meets flair. From casual chic to elevated loungewear, Adorn's got your look covered from head to toe. Discover the latest trends and express your unique style with their expert fashionistas at any of their 4 locations across the Portland metro area. You can also visit them online at shopadorn.com or even on social at Shop Adorn. Elevate your wardrobe game at Adorn today, where every outfit tells your story.
Conversations with Trey Renee. Situations and Conversations with Trey Renee.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Situations and Conversations. I'm Trey Renee, and I'm so happy because this is my favorite segment. I've got my guy Jamartae here. I can call you Jamartae, right?
Absolutely.
Jamartae? Okay, Jamartae still hanging with us. Jamartae, for those who know. Also back for Hey Trey from the Girl Tribe days. Donisha's here. And adding more testosterone to the table is my producer extraordinaire, Thomas. Now, for those who are not familiar, Hey Trey is the segment where I like to shift things a little bit, really unpack all those juicy conversations that all of y'all are probably having in your group chats, with your friends, maybe even your family members and seeing on your timelines. So today, the big topic that I've been seeing coming up lately is gentle parenting. I had to look this up because I've seen this so much on my timeline. I'm like, what is this gentle parenting and why are people seemingly really wanting to do this? Well, we're going to break that down a little bit. But the question is the old school the way to go, or is this collaboration with the kids the thing? I don't know. That's the situation. We're about to have a conversation. Everybody's parents, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so am I. And I come from the old school, so I automatically defaulted to, what's wrong? I came out okay, right? I actually got some butt whoopings every now and then. I was shamed into behaving. I was told what to do, not asked. There was no collaboration in my house. It was my way or the highway type of energy and language. And that's just how it was. And that is how I have been raising my children. But I've been hearing about this gentle parenting where it's like, let's collaborate on this. Maybe, no shame, no rewarding for good behavior, and no punishments. Jamartae, weigh in on this. What do you think is the best way?
I'm a little bit of both. I think having a mixture Like you said, I grew up in the old school, so like there wasn't no conversation. There wasn't no debate. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't no all negotiation or none of that. Whatever mama said, that's what went. Whatever grandma said, that's what went. Whatever pawpaw said, that's whatever went, right? Like whoever, you know, your village was. And so I think for me, I think a mixture, right? Because you want your kids to have both sides. You want them to be able to listen, but you also want them to be able to articulate themselves and tell you exactly what they feeling or, you know, their emotions, right? Because sometimes, you know, because the first thing we used to do back in that, we get mad, but we, you know, that cry, we go.
And what they say, I give you something to what?
Cry about.
Man, so weigh in, Dawn. You over here, you know exactly what it is.
My babies are older now, but I still find myself gentle parenting. She'll be
on purpose or on
I have to. It's what I found is if I'm not doing those things and listening and tiptoeing and not bringing, I want to bring back shame, but I can't.
We bringing shame back.
These kids are mean. They won't talk to you. So it's the way that I get them to talk to me by like, hi, how's your day? Let's unpack this. Those are the words I find myself using because the village sometimes is available and sometimes they're not. So I'm like, the village that normally would help me with, you know, the balance of gentle parenting is not there. So it does fall back on me where I have to be dad, grandma, auntie, mommy, friend, so that's where gentle parenting for me, it's had to kind of work. And that came from my kids going to therapy, hearing like, well, Donna, have you tried this with them? And I'm like, oh, okay.
I told you already, I'm not that gentle. But Thomas, why don't you weigh in?
Me and my wife have a really good relationship with our kids where it's like, she could be bad cop, I could be good cop, and we switch it around.
Okay.
Where it's like okay, mom's being mean to me, so I'm gonna go talk to dad. Or dad's being mean to me, I'm gonna talk to mom. So it's one of those things. So I guess it's naturally like we're both gentle and rugged, I guess.
Yeah, but you have to be on the same page with that because otherwise these kids will play y'all all day long.
Oh no, we know, we're already 10 steps ahead of the kids.
But so do you believe in this idea of kids having buy-in and collaborating with them in order to get them to
yes,
be on the right path?
I think so. This is what I learned is in an agreement, right? So if you have a situation with your kid that they don't want to do the dishes, right? Or you say, okay, if you don't want to do the dishes, you do the dishes tomorrow. Can we agree on that? And 10 times out of 10, it works because they're accountable for what they have to do. So now it's not just me pressuring them, they're pressuring themselves because they made an agreement on what to do. So,
and I think that goes back to the accountability piece, right? Because it make our kids go back to the accountability, you know, the conversation that we just was having previously too. So I think that all kind of correlates with parenting too, that accountability on both ends, as a parent and as a kid.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
So this whole like idea around no reward and no punishment, I don't believe in that, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I don't think the world operates that way. No. You're going to have consequences for your actions, and everybody always thinks consequences mean negative. No, you can have a wonderful consequence, which could be the reward. You could have a negative consequence, which could be the punishment. You keep showing up late for your job.
Come on.
Yeah.
You're going to get fired.
Period.
Okay? You do very well at your job, you might get a bonus or a promotion.
Hello.
Or to keep it.
Come on.
I mean, those are so in my mind, it's like, when do we start teaching our kids about that? Because everything starts in the home. So maybe it's a little bit of a mix of both. Like, isn't that what you said from the very beginning?
Both. I think both. I think reward, but also too, you know, having that punishment or that consequence is important too, right? Like my oldest, she's 15, and you know, I've been in her life since she's been 8 years old, and she killing it. She's been killing it in school, like from 6th grade all the way up until now. She's a freshman at Benson, and she's killing it. She all A's. She got all A's her last quarter, and like she's killing it. So like when I get tickets to the Blazer game, we go to the Blazer game, or you know, we go get Jamba Juice, or we go to breakfast in the morning. Like we just go do, you know, whatever we want to do. Usually I'll probably need to do a better job of asking her what she want to do. Because I always be coming to the table and say, you want to go to Business Cafe today? You want to do this? You want to do that? She'd be like, yeah, you know what I mean? But even with my 3-year-old, she's a little bit different because I think she just run things. So it don't even, reward is the punishment, punishment the reward. It's all in one.
You getting them both too. You getting rewarded and
so
you getting punished.
You know what I mean? But this is something I had to admit to myself. I do find myself being way more softer with Jalea than I do with Marley.
Man, we get tired. Yeah. I'm loving this conversation though, because I have 3 daughters.
Girl mom.
Man, all day. 19, 17, and 11. And I have found that I'm on it's my way or the highway. You're going to do what I tell you to do. You live under my roof. It is what it is. But I have to tell you, historically, I think there's something about that, at least with Black parents.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was dangerous for our children out here. Okay, and it still is, but I'm saying our parents and their parents grew up where it was like, listen, you gonna do this because if you don't, you may not make it home. Yeah. You're gonna do this because you mess around and catch a case.
That's right.
You know, you're gonna do this, okay, born out of systemic racism and all of the fabrics that are interwoven into everything that we do. Historically, I believe that that's the case, because when I hear, and I'm not gonna front, we keep it real with these conversations, when I hear, oh, Johnny, don't you want to do X, Y, and Z? I automatically think that's for white folks. Because that's the privilege that they can have to ask their children, do they want to do this or not do this? I don't know. I never had that opportunity, and I never saw that even in the generations before me. No. It was always like, this is what you need to do to survive, and you're going to do what I said because I said so. I don't have time to sit here and explain all of this to you. And a lot of times they didn't want to explain it because it's traumatic. Yeah. You know, but I know we're shifting into hopefully a different time and a different mindset. Yes, does racism still exist? Of course. Is it interwoven in the fabric of America? Yes, indeed. And if you want to talk to me about it, DM me. You know what? But I will say this has been a very rewarding conversation. And I appreciate you all for being so transparent and just putting it all out there so that we can have these sorts of conversations for everybody to, nibble a little bit and take them back home, have them with your family, have them with your friends. And you know what? Have them with us. Go to the YouTube page, go to the social media, and chime in and be a part of the Situations and Conversations family. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you all for joining us. God willing, we'll be back together again next week for another episode of Situations and Conversations. But until then, you know what I'm going to say. Take good care of yourselves, because that's the only way you can take care of anybody else. When you think me, think we. When you think you, think two. See you next time.
Special thanks to our presenting sponsor, Oregon Health Authority, helping people and communities achieve optimum physical, mental, and social well-being. And thanks to Tabiba Styles for hair and makeup glam, as well as Adorn Boutiques for my wardrobe. Situations and Conversations with Trey Renee is shot on location at Louisa Event Space in Portland. Situations and Conversations with Trey Renee is a Bum Juice Entertainment production in conjunction with Thomas Chung Films, Bloom Beauty Collective, and Allen and Unger Consulting Group. Situations and Conversations with Trey Renee. Watch Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. on Fox 12 Plus.
This is Situations and Conversations with Trey Renee.